What we're trying to get or to instill in first year nurses, and in fact second and third year nurses, is about care. And that is delivering care with compassion and making sure the patient has privacy and dignity and is treated with respect.
On a medical ward in my first year of training, I still remember the emotions that I went through the first time that I had met a patient, the first time that I had physical contact with somebody that I didn't know and that was delivering personal care to somebody that it was a very strange environment to be in.
I was very nervous, and the thing about it, being a mature student, going on a ward, and nurses sort of think, oh, she's mature, she must know what she's doing. And it's sort of that little pressure that I'm sure she can do it, you know. But deep down inside, I've never done nursing in my life. I have no idea what to do. I didn't know how to make up a bed. I was shown, and after a while I got it right. My nervousness slowly subsided as I began to get confidence. And what really helped was the support and the encouragement from nurses.
I think it takes about a month before you actually kind of get settled in, and that's one thing I like about Bucks, is the fact that we do big chunks of placement rather than you go out for 2 weeks and you're back in academics for 2 weeks. And I know some of my friends that have trained other places, that's what it's like. And I found it takes about 2 weeks to a month to get settled on the wall, so you know the staff, they know you know your way around, you know where everything is.
They're handed their documents, they're exam working papers, so they sign for them to say they're taking them out under their name. They're given a checklist, and that checklist goes through all the stages about the uniform, their practice documents, what to do to contact the wards, etc. So, you know, complete checklist, and if they could that that, obviously before they start their placement they'll be on a good footing to go forward in that placement.
Not knowing what to expect, I hadn't been in that sort of setting before, so it's like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to sort of experience? But there are people there to just help you.
Everybody's always supervised, and they're always working with a qualified member of staff.
The link lecturer provides a key point of contact, essentially, between the university, between the faculty, and students and trust colleagues in the placement areas.
First, for my mentors, I must say I've had very, very good mentors. And also for my link lecturers, they were always there, and even on the days they are not there, you can still contact them by email and get some support that way.
Well, on a weekly basis, our link lecturers will go out to visit their students, and 1 day per week is actually designated to do that within the link lecturer's diary. And in doing that, they can actually pick up the needs of the students.
The quicker they tell us, the quicker we can sort those problems out, and we can make sure that they catch up the hours that they need to, and that they get the placement that best suits them.
You can approach the link lecturers at any time and just say, look, I have no idea what this is, can you help?
There's a lot of support out there. So every student has an allocated mentor, and most of them will have an associate mentor. So they'll never be left on their own.
It's no shame to say, I can't cope with this. Nursing is very famous for its varying smells, and not everybody can cope with some of the smells, and people will heave and be very unwell. But that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to say, actually, I'm struggling with this. And then the mentor will either spend extra time in supporting that student, or I will go down and work with that student for a few shifts.
In the main, students have a great experience out there in practice, and obviously we really appreciate the support that our mentors, the mentors in the trusts, can actually give them.
All staff was really wonderful. I'm really happy with all my placements and with all my mentors. They're very, very, very helpful.
It's challenging, but it's good. You get lots of experience, and they're there to help you, really.
You have a skills session every week, and all the skills labs here are designed to look like a hospital ward, and they're quite accurate because you pull a cardiac arrest alarm here and it goes off, and exactly the same as it does on a ward.
The wards expect them to be very professional. They expect the same standards as their own staff, and so therefore they expect them to come suitably dressed, keen to learn, with all, the right attitude to the placement.
A lot of students have the attitude that they're there to learn, and they'll just stand there and wait for people to come and teach them. Well, that's not what you do. You actually go out and you'll get motivated and you seek the experience of what you're going to do and what you're going to learn, and seize every opportunity when something's happening.
Some students come and they're frightened, they're worried about A&E because it's a busy environment, or they haven't had much medical placements in their training, and so they're concerned. They've not seen mental health patients before. They've not nursed for paediatrics, for example, and so they're a little bit nervous. But it's allowing them to feel nervous, because I think that's good, but to be able to be in control of their nerves and to actually understand that it's just another opportunity to develop themselves. So we all know where the end goal is, and it's just developing that student at their own speed and their own pace.
There's lots of things, lots of terminology. Nobody expects everybody to know it straight off. Just ask and find things out about the area that you're going to. If you know you're going to a medical ward, have a look at what kind of patients you might get on a medical ward. So do a little bit of background.
ER or Holby City, it's all very nice, isn't it? And the pace is all very nice. When you go into an NHS ward, the pace is fast and furious. And the nurse is required to do so much more. On some placements, they work 12-hour shifts. So you'll come in at 7:30 and you'll go home at 7:30, 8 o'clock. On others, they'll do late shifts and early shifts. So you'll start at 7:30 and finish about 3:30, or you'll start at 1 o'clock and finish about 9. And then you'll do night shifts, and they generally start at about 8:30, and you'll go through until about 8 the following morning. On some areas, you do something called twilight shifts, where you'll start at 6 in the evening and go through until 2 in the morning.
Midway through, they've had their initial interview, they're perhaps coming up to the midpoint interview, and we are identifying their journey through their placement. We're identifying what objectives they're struggling to achieve, what objectives they're really doing very well in achieving, and evidencing that on a daily basis.
In a ward, might be give the patients their early morning tablets, give them their breakfasts, help them to wash and dress, get them ready for the physiotherapy that they might be having. It might be that you're going on the doctor's rounds and talking to the doctors and liaising with the patients and the families. You might be given injections, and that might be on day 1 of your first placement because you'll be trained how to do that while you're here.
A lot of obs and changing beds and cleaning, but yeah, no, it was good fun. I really enjoyed my first placement actually.
We're working on the adult medical ward, and I just finished doing some personal care and so for a patient, and she'd asked to see my manager, and I thought, I did okay here. And then my manager came back and said, the patient had just said, are you top notch?
Final week, they're looking at being able to evidence to their mentors and their sign-off mentors that they are actually taking the majority of control over the care and the delivery of care to a small group of patients, from admission to assessment to eventual admission into the hospital and to the wards.
This role, you have to be punctual. You can't not turn up when you're supposed to turn up without letting someone know the reason why. People are relying on you to come in so they can actually go home and go off their shift. Nursing's 24/7, it's around the clock. It doesn't stop.
We're looking at is, has the student had a surgical experience, a medical experience? Have they been into an area which is quite specialised? Have they been in a care of the elderly area? Have they been in a community area? In our first year, all of our students have a learning disabilities area that they would go into. So we need to make sure that they will have a range of experiences. But in the third year, students have the option to choose one of their 12-week placements, particularly if they're very interested in a particular area or they think they might like to be employed there. Then the option is there for them to choose to go to that particular area.
One day from the placement, if I take, you're coming in the morning, you have like handovers, every single information what's happened during the night or during the days, depend on what shift you're working, you know. My old shifts was like long days, but it's really good idea to do long days because the day just fly. You know, it's like observations, admissions, transferring, all this stuff. When you have 3 minutes, sometimes with my mentors we went together on our breaks to fill our papers from university, you know, to write, to discuss, like sometimes they have some in Charing Cross and Hammersmith hospitals, they have like some trainings and like they're asking students, you want to go? Of course we want, you know, we all the times running ways, any training or something like that, we go.
Spending possibly 8 or even 12 hours if they do long days on your feet. Your feet will hurt.
My top tip is to buy yourself a pair of really comfortable uniform shoes well in advance, to wear them weeks before you start on placement to get them nice and comfortable.
Go through your checklist, your preparation checklist, and just make sure that everything's done on there and you've looked at your placement and understand where you're going to and what's expected of you within that placement.
Read up as much as possible before you go to the placement and be honest and say, look, I don't know how to do this, can you show me? But at the same time, also try and use some of your own initiative and show them that you are willing to learn. And once you show the nurses and your mentors that you are willing to learn, you will gain a lot out from it.
The way that I always thought of it is I always looked after people as if they were my relatives or as if it was me in hospital and how I'd want to be treated. And I think when you start seeing it like that, you get to have a respect for them and you understand what a great position of trust you're in and the fact that they trust you to look after them.
To enjoy it and to go into the placement open-minded and to see every day as an opportunity to learn something.
Make sure they know their normal values because that comes up a lot for like your blood pressure and pulse and that. Just knowing normal values, because when you get in there and people are like, is that normal? And you're just like,
Students should be asking those questions, not only of their mentor but also of the linked lecturer, because they can be a great source of help to them.
Taking time to care. We're all so busy these days that actually sometimes we just forget to stop and talk to the patient and communicate with the patient.
Take initiative, you know, find out about your placement, what that placement involves, do some research, and you get on the ward, have a plan. You got to know where you are, what you know, what you don't know, what you'd like to learn. It's always good to start placement, knowing where you are, knowing what you want to achieve, and go for it.
And when they come back, what I'm seeing is somebody who has become much more confident in assessing a patient, in talking to their patients, in working with others within the multidisciplinary team. They come back with all of the stories about the patients that they've seen, the things that they've done, the amazing transformation of patients from on the brink of death to walking out of the door, full of all of the stories that you hear from nurses.
Towards the end of my placement, it was fabulous. I had learned a lot. I had gained a lot of experience and a lot of nurses' friends.